Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I was having some audio issues and some just overall YouTube, Google sort of issues. So thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Trauma Recovery University. My name is Athena Moberg, and these videos here on this channel are for adult survivors of childhood trauma, specifically childhood abuse. And we show up here every single week and we record these videos, we hang out, I do live Q&A, and you guys, the adult survivors of childhood trauma, you guys all come together and you have a live chat here on YouTube, and there's also a live Twitter chat going on using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. So I'm so excited to see you guys here, and for all of you guys who are watching on a replay, thank you so much for being here. If you're here live, or even if you're here on a replay and you can actually hear this video, I'm so grateful. I was having a lot of issues. So if you could just give this video a thumbs up if you can hear it okay, or at the end as well, if this video has been helpful for you, or if joining this community and watching these videos has been helpful, I really appreciate any feedback that you guys have. And just giving this video a thumbs up and leaving a comment is hugely helpful for me. I often get emails from you guys saying, how can we give back and what should we do? And honestly, giving our videos a thumbs up and leaving comments, it shows YouTube and their algorithms that the content that I'm putting out is something that is extremely helpful for you. And then they bump our videos up in search so that more survivors can receive the resources they deserve. So that is a very simple way that you guys can give back and help this community and help other survivors, and just by giving this video a thumbs up or putting a comment below. So I get all kinds of nasty emails and messages if I talk about that kind of stuff too much at the beginning. So I'm done for any of you haters out there who want to thumbs down my video because I'm telling you to give it a thumbs up. Love you, mean it. My name's Athena Moberg, as I said, and this is a video for adult survivors of childhood abuse. And tonight's topic is going to be very triggering for you. As I mentioned over in the YouTube chat, and as is mentioned over on the Twitter chat, this is not crisis care. I'm not a doctor, and you will need to reach out and get crisis care from our friends over at RAINN, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. They can be reached by dialing 1-800-656-HOPE. Or you can reach them and their live chat feature, RAINN.org, if you just want to log on and reach them that way. So if you happen to be one of the awesome, brave, incredible men in this community, there is specific care for you and the unique needs of the male survivor over at 1in6.org. Again, 24/7 live chat feature. They're incredible. They're amazing. In fact, I received a DM from one of the people from 1in6, or an email rather, I'm sorry, from one of the people over at 1in6, and they actually have received people logging on to their website as a result of us mentioning them. And so I'm just so grateful that you men that are out there are not only rising up and choosing to heal so that you can just feel better and live a life that you deserve, but you're reaching out and you're receiving the help you deserve. So I really encourage all the ladies out there to do the same. There are so many different shelters and so many different resources for you. And this channel, on this channel, we really want to just be a source of support for you guys and provide all the resources that you could possibly need to heal and live a life that you deserve, that you've always deserved, even though you're struggling with debilitating after effects of abuse that happened years ago, or sometimes maybe even decades ago. So welcome, welcome. Tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about the differences between overt abuse and covert abuse. 1 second, so sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay, done. I have family in town right now, you guys. I have a memorial service for my father tomorrow, and I have family in town, and I was just receiving a message from one of them because we're gathering together tonight, and also, well, obviously for tomorrow for the memorial service. So thank you so much for being here. You know, life just sort of gets in the way sometimes, and we have every intention of doing what it is that we need to do to heal and staying on this path to healing and achieving the results that we have wanted to achieve and reaching our goals and having healthy, awesome relationships that we enjoy, that are not triggering and that are not dysfunctional or abusive. And you know, this is just a long journey, you guys. It's so long. It's nothing that we can wave a wand and just make it so. You know, this doesn't happen quick. It just doesn't. But I'm telling you, the time you put in to heal is so worth it. So this topic, overt abuse versus covert abuse, this is a really heavy topic, and I'm going to dive right into some teaching, even though I know you guys probably have a ton of questions on YouTube and on Twitter. And for those of you that are new here, I just want to welcome you. I want to welcome you to this community. We do this every week. I show up, I say who I am, what the topic's going to be. I welcome everybody. I issue a trigger warning. I ask you to give the video a thumbs up or leave comments or communicate with other survivors. I invite you into community with all of us and just communicate to you our sincere desire to be a resource to you. So if that's not your bag and that's not something you're interested in, there's no need to hang out here in the comments or in the chat or over on Twitter on the hashtag and no more shame, stirring up drama and being unkind and rude or sending emails. There's no need for any of that, okay? You're welcome here with us. We will love you, we will accept you, and we will show up week after week after week like we've been doing for 3 years. And we'll continue to do it. But you're not allowed to abuse people here. You're not allowed to be unkind to other people, and you're not allowed to be unkind and abusive toward me. I'm not really going to allow that. And I'm not going to respond to those comments or emails. So as you can see, guys, I'm a little fired up. It's been a little bit of a week. I'm kind of over the whole, hey, let's abuse the people that are volunteering and trying to help us. Yeah, that's not okay. So just letting you guys know that that's not okay. And all of you that are here, I love you so much. And I'm so excited that you're here. And, you know, even when life is hard, we choose to show up, right? We choose to show up. We choose to make the healthy choices. We choose to love those around us. We choose to support others. We choose to just do the very, very best we can. So I'm just going to peek really quick and see what kind of questions you guys have. Okay, I have a couple of questions first. And then I'll dive right into the teaching. So heroes don't wear capes. First of all, welcome. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. You always have such really excellent and thought-provoking questions. So I'm going to read this question first, and then I'm going to go into some teaching and a screen share that I've created for you guys. Heroes don't wear capes says, is it common for those who overtly abuse to also covertly abuse? For example, using gaslighting, or flipping the script, especially in front of people to keep up their appearances. Also, is enabling considered covert abuse? So I'm gonna pause really quick. I'm gonna thank you for that excellent question. And I just want to bring everybody up to speed here. So if you're new here and you're not sure what gaslighting is, Harriet, could you pop up the link for our replay viewers and just let them know that they can click? Well, you guys can click that link if you're a replay viewer within the next 24 to 48 hours. It's a video on gaslighting right here. And you can click that video and learn what gaslighting is. Also, you can, gosh, I don't have a video specifically on flipping the script. So I'm just going to dive right into the answer. But please watch that video on gaslighting if you don't know what gaslighting is. Or really quickly, you can just pause this video if you're a replay viewer and Google the term gaslighting. and then Google the term narcissistic abuse, so that, and maybe Google narcissistic abuse terms commonly used, so that you understand what flipping the script is. You understand what gaslighting is. You understand what flying monkeys are, and what smear campaigns are, and triangulation. You'll understand what all this stuff is, so that you're not like, what language is this girl speaking? So really quick. So first of all, thanks for the excellent question. And I think this is a common misnomer that many, many, many people, especially early on in their healing journey, this is a commonly misunderstood thing that can trip us up. It can be one of our stumbling blocks, right? It can pause or halt our healing journey. So there is no hard and fast rule, line drawn in the sand, that says an overt abuser will not use covert tactics. And there's no hard line drawn in the sand that says someone that's usually covertly abusive will not be overtly abusive in public in front of other people. So the answer to your question, heroes don't wear capes, I wouldn't say it's common, but it's not unheard of. And you should never assume that you have their number unless you've studied them and you have years of sort of documentation or proof as to what their modus operandi is. So, and chances are also, you guys, if you're wondering this, then the likelihood of you being in contact with someone who's covertly abusive is highly likely. Because someone that is only endured overt abuse only doesn't really have a lot of confusion, and there aren't a lot of questions. You're like, yep, they're an asshole and they're really abusive. They yell at me in front of everybody. Everybody knows how rude and awful they are. And they treat me nice in front of everybody else, and they only are abusive towards me behind closed doors. And they just play nice in front of everybody else. So this is a multi-pronged, there's a lot of fingers and a lot of different like wicked little threads that get sewn into all of this. So someone who's only overtly abusive, I would consider that to be the uncommon thing. I would consider abusers to be manipulators by nature, and they will do whatever it takes to get what they want. So the only time an overt abuser is usually only overt is if you live in complete isolation. If you are away, like you live on a piece of property that's like 15 acres and your closest neighbor is like a mile away, and you are forced to stay in isolation, then your overt abuse will be like the only abuse you experience and understand and identify. And there's not really any need for covert tactics, because they'll just assert their power over you and then continue to assert their power over you whenever they feel like it. And even if that is the case, abuse is a cycle, remember? Ooh, Harriet, pop up the video right here, or here, I forget which side it goes on, for the cycle of abuse. There's a video we did on the cycle of abuse, or is it called Breaking the Cycle of Abuse? I think it's just called the cycle of abuse. It explains what the cycle of abuse is. And abuse is a cycle. So at 12 noon, let's picture it's a clock. At 12 noon, the abuse happens, okay? From 12 to 3, you have what's called like the apology phase, the honeymoon phase. I'm so sorry. It's never, ever, ever going to happen again. And from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., you have kind of this like, they're kind, and you're kind of just wondering like, what's really going on? Like, wow, this is too good to be true. Like, you know, I knew they would come around. Like, it couldn't stay bad always and forever. So, you know, they're coming around. They really are. They're going to come around. It's pretty awesome. I'm really excited about this new person. You know, they've turned over a new leaf, and it's called like the idealization phase, or it's just like the ideal situation. They've turned into that ideal person that you always knew they could be, and that's until 6 p.m. And then, because remember, the abuse happened at noon. And it's not an actual clock, you guys. This isn't going to repeat itself every single day. I feel the need to explain that. If abuse is a cycle, and this cycle can happen over the course of a week or a month or a year, let's picture it as a clock, and it's only used as a metaphor. It's not every day. This is just the abuse happens up here at 12, and then at 3 is when like the idealization, you're kind of like, wow, they're letting off. Like they've said they're sorry, it's not going to happen again, and then they're this ideal person until the bottom of the hour, right? And that could happen over the course of a week or a month or whatever. Then from about 6 to like 9, it's really, you're not really sure. You're getting confused. Like you're starting to see glimpses of what, like, it's like this weird tension that's kind of building. And it like you're seeing glimpses of what you thought they used to be, but they turned into this new person, so you're really not sure. And then right around 9 until it gets back up to the 12, it's weird and silent, and you're just unsure, and you have a pit in your stomach, and you're walking on eggshells, and you're really just positive that something bad's going to happen, but you don't want to be a naysayer, and you don't want to just sabotage it all. And maybe I'm just making it all up, and maybe it really is going to be okay. Maybe if I'm perfect, it won't happen again. And then boom, 12 comes, and the abuse happens again, and it's all over again. So basically, if you can look at the abuse that happens in your life, you'll be able to identify where in the cycle you're at. If you're currently in an abusive situation, first of all, I'm sorry and I want you out. I wish I could just swoop down like a mama bird and just like scoop you up and just take you somewhere safe, because you deserve it. But if you're not, then I want you to be able to like get the knowledge you need so that you can apply it and then be all the wiser so that you can eventually get yourself out of the situation. So you'll be able to identify exactly where in the cycle you're at. And many of you have light bulbs going off right now. You're like, oh my gosh, I remember that, and I remember that, and I remember that. Maybe I'm not so sure about that. So back to the topic at hand, which is overt abuse versus covert abuse. So someone who's overtly abusive still follows the cycle, and they have less need for covert tactics because perhaps there's a lot of isolation involved. But the moment there's people around, or if you've wised up and grew a backbone, the moment you wise up and grow a backbone and stand up for yourself, or if other people come around, covert tactics kick in. They just do. And they take on different shapes. The covert tactics are hugely effective because it messes with your mind. And yes, one of the covert tactics is flipping the script. And yes, another covert tactic is gaslighting. Heroes Don't Wear Capes has probably a PhD, a master's degree and a PhD in how to heal from narcissistic abuse and understanding all these terms and tactics so you can identify what it is and where you're at on the map so that you can finally get the hell out of there. And you guys, once you start recognizing these things and being able to call them out for what they are, you're getting closer, you're getting closer. And then you're gonna stop being re-victimized by new people once you like recognize all this stuff, okay? So I would say that the anomaly is someone who doesn't use any covert tactics, and that it is pretty common for covert tactics to be included in the overt abuse if there are people around and if you're not in complete and total isolation. So I hope that answered your question. I know I ran a little bit long, but you guys, this stuff and understanding these basic principles is what's going to get you out of this. It's going to be hugely effective for you. So I need you to forgive my voice. I'm kind of coming down just a little bit sick. You know how it is, like when your schedule gets switched up. Like I have people in town right now, and my schedule is different than it normally is. And then I have a memorial service for my dad tomorrow, and that's sort of been on my mind a lot lately. One second while I get a drink of water. Okay, so just thanks for just your patience and understanding. I'm gonna just cruise right on through this and go to the screen share because it's rather in depth. And I really think it's gonna spark some awesome conversation over in the YouTube chat. And I really think that all of you guys, all of my family, you guys over there on Twitter, I hope you can hear this and I hope you can see this. If you could tweet out this link, there are people out there that need to get this information. They just need it. They need it because their life depends on it. So I'm hoping that you guys are going to be tweeting out some things that are light bulb moments. Tweet out those things that are light bulb moments. Use the hashtag No More Shame. Go over the YouTube chat. Type in light bulb moments that you guys are having. Encourage one another. Inspire one another, support one another, send each other safe hugs or offer safe hugs to people that might be struggling. This is gonna be triggering, you guys. But I hope that the way I answered that question, Heroes Don't Wear Capes, hope that was helpful for you. If you could just let me know. Really quick, Tracy has a question here. Tracy Young says, is it abuse that after years of sexual abuse as a teenager, I received a Playboy magazine from my abuser for Christmas? It bothers me, but is it abuse? And is it covert or is it overt? Okay, I'm gonna look at you right now, Tracy. Oh, girl. Okay, I love you, and I am so happy you asked this question. You guys, any unwanted advances and anything that includes pornography and is given to you by someone who was abusive to you, that is considered abuse. Unless you said, hey, I'd really like a Playboy magazine for Christmas. I know you sexually abused me for a lot of years, and I know it was abuse because I didn't want to be sexual with you, and I might have been too young to even make that choice to begin with. But yeah, like anything that is like an unwanted advance towards you is abuse. And I would say, depending on the company in which that magazine was given to you, it could be either overt or covert. But this is my gut feeling. This is my little niggling that I have right now, Tracy Young. And that is that if you were to try to call that person out and say that's abusive, they would say something, along the lines of, you just need to lighten up. Oh, come on, it's just a magazine. What's the problem? I mean, it was just a present. I mean, it's Christmas. So, I mean, you need to lighten up, really. Like, is it really that big of a deal? It's just a magazine. So anytime you get treated that way, you guys, like, gosh, you really should lighten up. Like, is it really that big of a deal? Don't you think you're overreacting just a little bit? That is a ding, 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 ding. 100% you are being covertly abused, gaslit, or manipulated in some way. Because they're thinking you can't prove that it's abuse. And then even if you could prove it, they'll be like, well, could you prove I gave it to you? Like, that magazine could be bought anywhere. How does anybody know that you didn't buy it for yourself? Because we all know, you're like that, So that's, manipulation. And I would say that it's highly likely that it's a little bit more covert than overt, depending on if they've like roped some people in, like some flying monkeys, or they're like triangulating you with somebody else. And then if you call them out on it, they're going to flip the script and they're going to be the victim. I can't believe you're being mean to me. I was just trying to be nice and give you something. Oh my gosh. Right? So great question, Tracy. It's definitely abuse, and I would say it's covert. Alex, I'm so happy to see you, Alex. Alex wants to know, is it overt or covert when abusers withhold love if you don't do what they want you to do? That is covert because you can't prove it. What are they going to do? You can't say, you hit me. Look, I have a mark. Look, you punched me. I have a black eye right here. Like, everybody, can't you see that this person's abusing me? Look, I have a mark. Like, since we can't do that, it's covert. They just want to mess with your head, right? And you can't prove it. So it's definitely covert. Great question, Alex. You guys have the best questions. I'm so proud of you guys. The growth that is happening in this community is just awe-inspiring. Okay, I'm caught up with all the questions as of 3:32 p.m. We're only going to take questions. We can't take questions after that because these have been running 90 minutes and over 90 minutes, you guys, and I need to be respectful of your time. And then starting in August, we're going to be cutting them a little bit shorter as well. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to do some screen share for you right now. You guys, I'm going to read through this. Trigger warning, okay? I love you guys. Trigger warning. There's a trigger warning on this. Please get yourself some water. Pause this video. If you're over in the YouTube chat, it's hard to pause, right? Because you're just like trying to keep up with everything. So, sorry, I have carrots in my teeth. If you guys see carrots in my teeth, I'm so sorry. Can you see carrots in my teeth? Okay, so if you're triggered, get a glass of water. Maybe put your hands in some ice water. It'll disengage your hypothalamus, and then your amygdala won't get hijacked. And just do some deep breathing, or just do something that you would normally really, really love. But this is going to be triggering, so I just wanted to let you all know right now. Okay? Overt abuse versus covert tactics. Here we go. I know I've already said this, but I'm so glad you guys are here. Okay, it's not working. I hope you guys can see it. You guys, I hope you can see that. I'm having issues. Okay, so here we go. Covert abuse versus overt abuse. Overtly abusive behavior, right up here at the top, guys, we're going to start at the top, versus covert tactics. I want to first of all note, not to drag this out, but I want to first of all note right now that I'm not even starting this off. I want to set the stage. Okay, abusive behavior is very obvious, and covert tactics are more sly. They're tactics. It takes tactical knowledge. There's some manipulation involved. There's some sleight of hand. They're more calculating, okay? People who are covertly abusive are more calculating. So here we go. We're starting off right here. The word first, here we go. First, let us establish what abuse actually is and what it is not. Abuse may also be referred to as maltreatment. The two will be referred to synonymously during tonight's discussion. According to Merriam-Webster, abuse is a corrupt practice or custom, for example, the buying of votes and other election abuses, improper or excessive use or treatment, for example, maltreatment, language that condemns or vilifies, usually unjustly, verbal abuse, physical maltreatment, for example, child abuse or sexual abuse, or a deceitful act, such as deception. Conversely, a layman's definition or description of an abuser or an abusive person would be someone who embodies a general attitude, tendency, propensity, or is in the habit of mistreating, deceiving, verbally berating, or being corrupt in their thinking or actions. Let us briefly discuss the definitions of and the differences in overt abuse and covert abuse. Overt abuse is usually very obvious. Overt abuse, by definition, is abuse which is easily identified as abuse. It is typically undisguised, unconcealed, plain to see, clear, apparent, conspicuous, obvious, noticeable, and in the open or blatant. Covert abuse is abuse often done in secret, is much more difficult to detect, and sometimes impossible to prove. It can be more easily hidden by either the charisma or the feigned innocence of the abuser. Covert abuse is very often perpetrated by someone who is pretending to be a victim themselves. Some examples of this may be a bully who goes out of his or her way to be unkind to you, only to turn around and play the role of the innocent one or the wounded person. Covert abuse is typically very painful, manipulative, concealed well, or kept hush-hush, while an image of a completely different type of person is one being portrayed to the public. Another sign you may have experienced covert abuse is if you perhaps attempted to speak up or describe the abuse you endured, and you were met with blank stares because the act itself appeared to be something very small or benign. There's that word again. A small mistake anyone could make, or just an accident. Another phrase often used is, "Oh, you need to ease up. They mean no harm. I'm sure you are just overreacting. It looks to me as though you may be the one who is being abusive." There's the flip the script right there. As we discussed last week, the abusers in our lives typically have access to one or many enablers who are known for continually choosing to look the other way, joining in on some of the aspects of the abuse, like bullying, or enablers can also choose to ignore undesirable situations, even if it is right in front of them, often to avoid being held responsible for or having to deal with said undesirable situations. Just as enablers can be difficult to distinguish, especially if they are benevolent, some abusers can be more difficult to identify if they utilize covert tactics rather than exhibit overtly abusive behaviors. For example, someone who is overtly abusive is usually openly spiteful, malicious, calculating, conniving, malevolent, ill-intentioned, vindictive, vengeful, malign, mean, nasty, lacking empathy, hurtful, mischievous, wounding, cruel, unkind, bitchy, catty, or evil. Their abusive behaviors are more obvious and able to be seen by others. Whereas someone who is covert could, to the naked eye or the unsuspecting bystander, be mistaken for your average, everyday, naive person who can sometimes be very kind, warm-hearted, good-natured, friendly, warm, affectionate, agreeable, congenial, cordial, approachable, tender-hearted, gentle, sympathetic, compassionate, and even caring. Many survivors watching or listening right now are beginning to put the puzzle pieces together as they begin to identify their abuser or abusers and their enablers, who likely embodied many of the characteristics mentioned here today. Note: please be very kind to yourself right now and in the hours and days to come. I say this because these covert tactics are so much more painful to process and grieve, because for many of us, there has been a level of trust instilled in this person or persons, given the fact that they exude so many of the characteristics we as a society have deemed necessary to be considered a trustworthy individual. Overt abuse is a concept our mind can possess more easily than if we try to picture the reality of our abuse matched up with the mental picture of someone matching the description of a benevolent, benign, or covert person as described above, which, again, very kind, warm-hearted, good-natured, friendly, warm, affectionate, agreeable, congenial, cordial, approachable, tender-hearted, gentle, sympathetic, compassionate, and even caring. It is important to note abuse can cause us a great deal of pain and create very damaging after effects, regardless of whether or not the abuse is overt or covert. Abuse is abuse. Now is a good time to mention abuse is abuse is abuse is abuse. Period. Small, big, infrequent, daily, or even something just happened one time. Abuse is abuse. If we fail to point this out, we run the risk of being stuck in denial, at which point we run the risk of either not healing or being re-victimized. At which point we won the risk. Try to say that 10 times fast, you guys. We run the risk of either not healing or being re-victimized. Any way you look at it, abuse is not an easy thing to grasp or work through for those of us who experience this. However, like we talked about last week, we are the ones who must choose to do the hard work to recover. Why? My new hashtag, because we are worth it. So I'm going to get a little bit personal here. And I didn't intend on this, but as I was doing my research and preparing this screen share for you guys, I really wanted to just get personal with you guys because I need you to know you're not alone and there's no shame in any of this, okay? For many of our community members, myself included, we have spent years or even decades preferring to ignore the painful reality of our abuse and the enabling which took place. We have done our best year after year to only allow it to affect us in minimal ways, or we numb the pain of our abuse and the betrayal that we feel as a result of the enabling behaviors of our loved ones. We numb in so many ways, easily looked over by the unsuspecting passerby. One of my favorite ways to numb or self-medicate is with food. After all, I've reasoned, well, everyone needs to eat, right? I also used to numb or self-medicate with busyness. The more I did, the better I felt. Then I avoided dealing with my pain by having a glass of wine every night with my husband. What's an innocent glass of wine? I'm responsible. I don't drive, I reasoned, until my little one glass of wine per night turned into a mindless routine and I still struggled with all the pain of the betrayal I was feeling. Then I turned to exercise. Yes, I will get healthy. This is the answer. I'm finally going to be healthy and this won't hurt anymore. There are so many other ways I can name in which we survivors choose to avoid the pain of the betrayal. But I'm sure you get the picture. Social media, gambling, shopping, you name it. Go, 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 go. Avoid, avoid, avoid. Anything so we don't have to face the reality that we were not worth saving, not worth rescuing, and not worth loving. And the truth is, nothing could be farther from the truth. But we need to choose to embrace the truth. The truth will not chase us down against our will. We must intentionally choose to turn towards and eventually accept the truth, which is we were never the ones with the problem. The problem lies within our abusers and our enablers. They are deeply flawed individuals who chose to abuse, ignore, neglect, exploit, and harm us. And let us be honest, sometimes the lie is easier to believe. After all, it's what we've been taught through words, action, and neglect for literally years, and for some of us, even decades. But I am challenging you tonight. I'm asking you to join me in choosing to believe the truth rather than the lie. Will you join me? I know opening the door to all of this ugly, heartbreaking knowledge is painful and soul-crushing. We think it will be so much easier to continue to numb, stuff, and avoid the pain of the reality that our abuse and the enabling of our abuse. As we discussed last week and a few other videos, the truth is, if we do not accept the reality of our abuse and the enabling of our abuse, we cannot fully participate in our recovery. And we will likely stay stuck on the edges of our true, full potential, rather than experience fully the happy life we have always deserved. We do this for many reasons, which are completely valid and normal, by the way. And the main reason we do this is because moving fully into our pain and standing in the center can feel terrifying to us. But like we say every week for almost 3 years now, with the help of others in our community, we are truly able to heal as we choose to step fully into the circle of reality. The upside to this painful transition is the sooner we fully step into our pain, the sooner we will be able to make our way back out of it, healthier than before and living a life we love. To facilitate the full acceptance of the reality of both our abuse and the enabling of our abuse, number one, we're going to seek validation from other survivors. That's why you're here. You guys are already doing this. There can be tremendous validation in seeing how much your debilitating after effects match up with others who have gone through child abuse. The shackles can come off the moment you hear the words, "me too." Number two, we're going to seek validation from trauma-informed professionals. Google the term trauma-informed care and hold your helping professional accountable. Let them know that you need them to become trauma-informed. Trauma-informed professionals can help validate the enabling of your abuse based on their experience and expertise. They can validate you in so many ways, you guys. Having a trauma-informed helping professional to meet with regularly can be life-changing And I'm going to add here life-saving for you. Number 3, we're going to begin to speak about the enabling of our abuse and the abuse itself with safe people. We can start slowly, right? You can start as slowly as you like, giving as few details of your story as you would like. You don't have to do anything, okay? Sharing your truth with those who will provide a safe, non-judgmental, supportive environment for you allows you to examine it in the light of day rather than continuing to keep it locked up in the dark recesses of your mind. And remember, like we always say on this channel, shame cannot survive in community. The only thing silence does, you guys, is it protects your shame and it keeps your shame stuck. And we don't want that. We don't want you living with any shame that isn't yours. Number 4, you're going to begin to know that you are the only one who will be in control of your recovery. Not me, not your therapist, not your abusers, not your community members, no one. Only you can maintain, only you can choose if you're going to maintain relationships with your family, if you choose to do so. You can move as slowly as you wish. You and only you get to determine which methods of help you will receive. Only you. And number 5, know that your recovery may not be the same as someone else's. Every journey is unique, and someone else's specific struggles might not be something which you will face. Comparing your recovery progress, or even the ins and outs and the details of your recovery, to someone else's is rarely helpful, and oftentimes it can be very damaging. Join in safe community with other survivors. That's what you guys are doing here. You're here right now. You're on the live chat. You're using the hashtag No More Shame. You're in all of the groups. You're doing all you can. And oh, I've received a few emails, by the way. I'm just going to pause. I'm just going to pause right here. I've received a couple emails from you guys. You haven't been welcomed into groups yet. The waiting list is, there's still a waiting list, and we're doing the very best we can to welcome people in. Once I get past my memorial that I'm having this week and just some family stuff that I've been dealing with, then I'll be able to be spending a little bit more time on Facebook and welcoming people into groups and go through the vetting process and so forth. So I know I say this every week, but my apologies for the delay. There's no shortage of survivors, and I am one human. So I'm doing the best I can, and we'll definitely continue to be welcoming people in and get you plugged in. So you guys haven't done anything wrong. Usually I'm receiving messages from you saying, what am I doing wrong? I'm not welcomed into a group yet. I've done all the things you told me to do, and I'm still not in. What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. It's me. It's me. This is Athena speaking. It's not you, it's me. And I'm just behind on welcoming people in and vetting people, and I'm just behind. So you haven't done anything wrong, okay? And I just want you to know that I see you and you matter. I'm not able to get to it right now, and I'll do the very best I can, okay? So lastly, join in safe community with other survivors and encouragement. When you finally receive this, you will begin to heal and recover from your trauma at an exponential rate. There is strength in numbers. Choosing to be in safe community with others who have lived your pain will help you to feel stronger and less ashamed. We have free, organized, virtual, safe support communities where you can practice new life skills and become adept at creating healthy habits. And you can learn how to get plugged into a free online safe support group by clicking here. Basically what this does is it takes you to the About section of our YouTube channel. So you can go to youtube.com/Trauma Recovery University TV and click on the About section, and then you will be walked through on an easy way for you to get plugged into safe community. And then down here at the very bottom, my little PS, I believe that together we can choose to heal from all forms of overtly abusive behavior and covert tactics. Okay. Oh, I didn't lose any of you guys. That's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and see what kind of questions you have. I hope that screen share was helpful for you. If it was, could you give this video a thumbs up? And any questions you have, put them over in the YouTube chat box or on Twitter using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. We're taking questions for 7 more minutes only, and then I will do my best to answer as many of them as possible. Okay? Let's see here. Oh my goodness. Oh, good. There were no carrots in my teeth. Okay. Just T. I'm so happy you're back. It's always great to see you. T says, I relate more to the covert side, I think. There are arguments in front of people, but a lot of the twisting of truths, but a lot of it is twisting of truths. Which is it? If they're twisting the truth and trying to get you to doubt your reality, it's definitely covert. So, yeah. Grace Hope says, I'm doing this because I love you. I think this is covert, ? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Anytime someone abuses you and they say they're doing it because they love you, that's covert abuse. And they might even believe it themselves because they might believe it themselves because they're just lost individuals. So it's definitely covert though, and it's not you, Grace Hope. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry that you were told that, because it is such a mind screw, you know, right guys? Like, to be told, I'm hurting you, I'm hurting you, I'm hurting you, but this isn't pain, this is love. I love you, I'm doing this because I love you. Or they're mean to you, and then they feed you, and then they love you. And like a lot of us have experienced that, and it's just so confusing. So it's definitely covert, Grace Hope. Joey says, my stepdad would give it to me when I wouldn't be his slave. He would use sex toys on me, and that was my punishment for not obeying him. Yeah, that's definitely overt abuse. That's not covert abuse. And I'm so sorry that you went through that, Joey. I'm really sorry. Kate. Hi, Kate. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to see you. Katie says, my abuser left me flowers on my bed with a note that said, I will always protect you. He's so good at flipping that script. The fact that he went into my room and left them turned that into an unsafe place, and he knew that. I want to stop really quick, and I want to say something right now that's huge. And Katie, I'm so glad you brought this up. Abusers love to mess with your mind. They love to take something that's beautiful and they love to mar it and ruin it and destroy it. And it's not all abusers that do this. So I want to caution you from going, well, my abuser never did that, so I must not have incurred abuse. Yay, I'm all good. There are so many different covertly abusive tactics. And invading your personal space is something so covert because it's seemingly so small, like something that children would argue over. Don't go into my room. Tell him to stay out. And it's really not innocent. They know that they're messing with your mind. They know that if they can invade your personal space, that they can get into your head. And that is so sinister. And not all abusers do this. Abusers that are a little bit more on the sociopath, psychopath, more sadistic, abusers that are more sadists and perhaps diagnosed or undiagnosed psychopaths, sociopaths, they tend to do more stuff like this on a more regular basis. And if they're really narcissistic in nature, they'll go, oh, I'm so hurt that you would think that of me. Oh my gosh. I can't believe you would think that of me. I was just trying to, you know, leave you flowers. Like, what kind of girl doesn't like flowers? Like, I was just being nice. Like, gosh, I can't, you know. So again, there's the twisting, and they do flip that script. And that's something that is a little bit more on the narcissist curve. But the calculation that goes behind that is a little bit more sadistic and sociopathic, in that they know they're getting into your head and they've invaded your space permanently, because that space will never be safe again, because you'll always be wondering if they're coming, right? So it's important that you guys know what you're dealing with here. Katie, I'm sorry you went through that. It's sinister and evil and calculating and horrible and awful, and it creates such a vibe of unsafety, and I'm so sorry that you went through that. And I'm sorry that you went through all the things you went through, Joey, and you too, Grace Hope, and T, and Alex, and Tracy, and Heroes Don't Wear Capes. You guys, I just want to look at you in the eyes right now, and I just want to tell you, like, you didn't deserve any of this. You guys are not the problem, okay? The problem lies with the abuser. The problem lies with the person who is disordered, okay? And you didn't deserve any of this. You guys didn't deserve any of this. And you're going to get to the point where you're like, I don't deserve to be treated this way anymore. I see through it. And you could be stuck in a situation where you're not going to be able to get out right now. But it doesn't mean you can lose hope. Doesn't mean you need to lose hope. You can start planning and plotting a way, slowly but surely, to get out in a year or 2 or 3 or 4. There are some people in our community that are literally, like, there's someone who is 16 years old, and she's like, I'm going to be 18 in 3 years. I'm planning it right now, and I'm going to get out. I'm going to get out when I can, and I'm up on this. I see through it now. I know that it's abuse. And they're going to plan day by day by day by day, and boom, they're going to be gone, okay? So if you're one of those people who's stuck for whatever reason, whether it's a financial constraint, or you're afraid to get out, or you're too young to get out, or you're disabled, or you don't, whatever it is, and you're trapped, just know that you're not alone, okay? And know that there is hope. Nothing is forever. What you're at right now, where you're at right now, is temporary, okay? But you're the only one that can choose that you're going to heal. You're the only one that can choose to take the steps necessary and take the tools that you're being given and apply them, okay? This is not a place for you to be like, well, it must be nice, you know, other people can get out and I never can. I'm going to be stuck forever. No, sorry, it's not going to fly here. Take the tools you can, take the best, and leave the rest. Just one little step. And some days just holding your ground means that you made some headway. Some days we slide back down into that pit, right? Some days we slide back down into that pit of, whether it's a pit of self-pity, a pit of pain, a pit of depression, a pit of, I'm never going to get out of this. But, you know, it's temporary. Whatever you're feeling right now, whatever pain you're feeling right now, whatever hopelessness that you might be stuck in, that is temporary. I need you to know it's temporary. I need you to know that you have all of us cheering you on, okay? And we'll do whatever we can to cheer you on, but only you can choose to heal and to get out. So I'm super proud of you, all of you who are asking questions. Willow says, when I get filled with terror and I have flashbacks from being broken in when I was trafficked from ages 3 to 12, I do find myself missing them and craving the chaos. What the heck? WTF is up with that? What the fuck is up with that? Well, very simply put, Willow, it's all you know, and it's almost comforting. Like, it's comfortable because it's something, it's all you know. And Willow, there are some things that you might not remember right now, Willow, that were comfort that was woven into your abuse, right? You look at it now and you have a different perspective. You're looking at it now and you're like, I see that it was chaos. I see that it was drama. I see that it was abuse. I was trafficked. I have a word for that now. But when you were being trafficked from 3 to 12, you weren't sitting back going, well, what the heck? I'm being trafficked. This sucks. What's going on? Like, doesn't anybody know that trafficking's going on? Like, I mean, I don't know about you, Willow. Maybe you did know that, but I didn't. I didn't know that what was going on with me, and the very interesting way that I would receive love and approval if I would go and be with that person and go here and go there, and I got a new outfit to wear if I did this or that, or I got less abused if I did this or that, or I actually got edible food that wasn't spoiled if I did this or that. Like, the quid pro quo and like the mind screw that goes along with all of that, right? Like they're meeting felt needs. You've felt needs, like basic needs, basic human needs, food, shelter, clothing, safety, love. Like those are basic needs, right? So it is likely, Willow, that the reason it's so confusing for you and why you crave it is because there was some love and some kindness woven in there, which is why it's such a mind screw. I mean, maybe that was just my situation and that wasn't yours, but there was likely some love woven in there, which is why you crave it. And now you might feel all alone and you might feel isolated and you're like, but now I have no one. At least then I had my abusers. At least I wasn't all alone, right? And then you're like, gosh, what's up with that? Like, who wants to be around their abusers? What's wrong with me? And then the shame starts all over again because you're like, what's wrong with me? What kind of person craves that? I must be crazy. Maybe I deserve to be abused if I'm the one craving my abusers. You know, then that whole thing starts, right? So I just want you to know, like, how you're feeling doesn't make you crazy. It makes you human. And, you know, there was likely some love woven into that abuse. It likely wasn't all overt, which is what makes it covert, which makes it hard to detect, which makes it a mind screw, and it makes it confusing for us to heal. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but I hope that helps, Willow, because I totally identify with it. Joey says, just a few weeks ago, I received a sex toy in the mail with no return address. I believe it was from him because who would send something like that to me? Is that overt or covert? That's covert, okay, because you can't detect it. It's hard to detect. And, you know, I noticed there's a theme going here tonight, right? Like Playboy magazines being given for Christmas and sex toys coming in the mail. And you guys, these things can't be proved, right? You can't prove it. And then if you try to prove it, there's someone out there that's going to be like, well, give it to me then. I want it. How come nobody sends me that kind of stuff in the mail? I want a sex toy in the mail. I want a Playboy magazine. It costs $8 or $5 or whatever it costs. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like $2. I don't know. Can you tell it's been a really long time since someone's given me a Playboy magazine? But believe it or not, I was in a relationship probably about 18 years ago where I would receive like that type of stuff, right? Like sex toys and Playboy magazines. And it's like, I didn't even like that was so new. I was like, what in the world? Like, I grew up with naked lady calendars all over the garage and with, you know, porno movies and like noises and sounds. And then I had gotten away from it. And then all of a sudden I was receiving it. It was like familiar, but weird. And I was like, am I supposed to like this? Like, I didn't like this when I was little, but maybe the reason I didn't like it is because I was little. And maybe now that I'm an adult, I'm supposed to like this, but I don't like this. And so it was very confusing. And anything that makes you go, gosh, I'm so confused is usually covert abuse. So, Joey, I just would, you know, throw it in the garbage, honestly. I mean, unless you want a sex toy. Some people want them. I mean, people pay good money for that kind of stuff. But if you don't want the sex toy, Joey, then throw it in the garbage. And I wouldn't even feed the abuser's ego and be like, did you send this to me? Because he just wants a response out of you. He's just looking for a response. Well, I bet she'll call me now and be like, did you send this to me? And then all of a sudden you call, or then you act a weird way around him or something. You know what I mean? Like, I would just, like, again, gray rock. I've never done a video on gray rock on this channel because I feel like gray rock has been so overdone on other channels, but I find myself referring people to all these other videos. So maybe I need to do a gray rock video because I think it might need to happen. I think you guys need to understand the magic and amazingness that is gray rock. It really will keep all of the abusers out of your life, like for good. So no contact and gray rock, they go hand in hand. They're just a recipe for awesomeness and peace and sanity. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. John Harvey, hey. John Harvey says, my brother was the person that abused me. He said at times he is against rape toward women and children. Is that covert behavior? Yeah. First of all, John Harvey, I'm so sorry. Like, I know you've shared a bit of your truth here on this channel, and I just want to thank you for being so brave. And secondly, anyone that their words don't match up with their actions, that's someone who's a manipulator and they're covert. Because you're like, wait a second, you just got done saying this, but yet you did this. Like, pick one. Which is it? You know? And then they're like, well, you don't understand. And you know, you need to mellow out. You know, anytime that's the response, it's covert. So most definitely covert, 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 covert. Let's see here. Definitely. Okay. Sabra. Hi, Sabra. I'm so happy to see you. Sabra says, the covert abuse is my current challenge. Me too, girl. It is hard to accept and to see at all covert and overt abuse. Yeah, covert tactics are harder to figure out. And they mess with your head because then you start going, not only like sometimes it gets to the point where you're like, did it really happen? But then you're like, am I overreacting? Am I overreacting? Maybe I'm overreacting. And anytime you catch yourself like researching the internet and then saying, am I overreacting? Like chances are you're being messed with by someone who's covertly abusive for sure. So it's totally not you, Sabra. It is hard to accept. And it's really hard to see. I want to validate you. Yes, yes, yes. But it's covert. It really is. And it's frustrating and it makes me so angry. But yeah, you're not alone. Willow says, is it possible that covert abuse is what keeps me stuck? It's like it has a pull and I don't know. I'm confused. Yes. I was kept stuck for a good extra 10 years because of covert abuse. So the answer is yes. I consider myself to be a pretty sharp individual. In certain circles, I'm considered pretty smart. And in other circles, I'm considered a pretty good communicator. But I would not consider myself very smart or a very good communicator when it comes to my covert abusers because I freeze. I freeze and I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say, and then I reason and I rationalize and then I blame myself and then I shame myself and then I get confused and then I try to do the good person thing, like what would a good person do? I need to be a good person because one of the best and most favorite tactics of all covert abusers, they know that we are good people who try to do good in the world and try to like be honest, upstanding citizens who are regular contributors to society. And the covert abusers love to fuck with us by making us doubt that we're a good person. And they want to tarnish our reputation and make us look like a shitty person. And what that is projection. They know they're a shitty person and they're projecting their shittiness all over you because they can't stand that you're a good person. And so what they do is they pick and pick and pick and pick and poke and poke and pick and poke and pick and poke until you finally go, stop, leave me alone. And they're like, what? Gosh, you're so mean. You think I'm blah, 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 fill in the blank. Like, what about you? Look at you. You try to say I'm that way. Look at you. Like, you're the crazy one. You're the mean one. And then like they just project all their shit onto you. So that little scenario that I just acted out for you kept me stuck for an extra 10 years. It makes me so mad when I think that I lost 10 years of my life. But you know what? It was that 10 years that makes me really good at what I do. I am really good at recognizing this kind of stuff in my clients' lives. And I can go, let me ask you this. And what about that? And does this happen? What does that remind you of? And it's like ding, 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 ding. And they're like, how did you know all that? Oh, I don't know. Because for 10 years, that was my daily reality. And I finally see it for what it was. You know? So while I could wish that 10 years of my life away, I kind of don't. Because I've honed my skills and I've honed, I can sense this stuff now. And it doesn't affect me the way it used to affect me on certain days. Now, on some days, I am just curled up and not okay and just hoping that nobody's mean to me because I'm just not okay. Like, I'm not this indestructible, rawr, mama bear. You know, like some days I'm just like, please be nice because I just can't handle anything right now. and I maintain my distance and I maintain my healthy boundaries with the toxic individuals that are still living in my life. I establish and maintain healthy boundaries with them, and I don't let them in because I can't. I just can't, because my sanity and my business and my volunteer work in this community depends on it. The lives of countless, literally thousands of you guys depends on me, like, maintaining my skills of seeing it and recognizing it and staying strong and continuing to fight and recover and heal, because we're worth it. You guys are all worth it, and I'm worth it. We are worth it. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but Katie Lee says, my stepfather would say when he was abusing me that I couldn't tell anyone because my brother would know he loved me more. Ooh, that is so confusing, and that is such a mind screw, and it is so covert and so manipulative and so sinister and so evil. I would be willing to bet, Katie, that there's some psychopathy going on there, or some sadism. I mean, that's just a special kind of evil that was going on. There are members of our community that were told similar things when they were really young, like 5 years old, 4 years old. Like, you know, the reason I'm mean to you is because I don't want your little sister to think that I love you more than her. Because what would that do to her? Do you really want to hurt your little sister? No, I know you don't. So the reason I'm mean to you and why I don't treat you a certain way is because I don't want your little sister to feel bad. I don't want her to feel like I love you more. If I'm really nice to you, don't you think that's going to hurt your little sister? And they mess with your head, and they get you agreeing to being abused because so you want me to hurt your little sister? No, I don't want you to hurt my little sister. Okay, then. So they get you to agree to the abuse. Otherwise, you're the one that's abusing your little sister. Like, how messed up is that? This is real, guys. This happens. So it's very, very, very covert, Katie. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. I'm so sorry, all of you, Sabra, Willow, Joey, all of you. I'm so sorry that you lived through all of this. It is such a mind screw, and it is not your fault, and you're not alone, and you deserve to heal, and you will heal, and you are healing. Deborah says, would cult abuse be overt or covert? It is abuse, however, hidden. Yeah, cult abuse, much cult abuse and ritual abuse, as I am familiarized with it just through reading and through clients that I've had that have experienced this type of abuse, much of it, if not all of it, is covert. They shroud it in this esoteric way, and they use these different tactics and mind control tactics and manipulation, and then they weave in love and acceptance and kindness, and it's just a mind screw, and it's almost all covert. If their abuse in cults was overt, people would run for the hills. So almost all of it is covert. And that's what makes it so sinister and so evil. And they mask it under, like, well, and they use those words. They trap you in a double bind. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a double bind is. You need to Google the term double bind. It's like the worst of two evils, right? A double bind is it's like a catch-22. If you do this, something bad will happen. But if you do this, something bad will happen. So you're stuck. So you're stuck in a double bind. And it is literally crazy making. So if you're experiencing cult abuse, this is very, very common in cults. So they'll say, if you don't do this, then you're going to have to stay outside all day and be punished outside all day in the sun, and you have to work outside. You have to pull weeds or whatever. Let's just say pull weeds or plant vegetables or rake leaves or whatever it is. You know, it's usually yard work, manual labor. Okay, you're going to be stuck outside all day in the hot sun doing manual labor if you don't do this. And no one wants to be stuck outside all day doing manual labor in the sun, getting a sunburn, and then knowing that you're going to peel or you're going to bleed and you're going to blister and it's going to hurt and it's going to be hard for you to sleep, and then you're going to have sleep deprivation and that's going to make you crazy, and then you're going to end up doing horrible other things and being sucked into those because you don't want to be out in the sun, do you? Because look how much pain you're in, right? And so the alternative to working outside, pulling weeds or raking leaves or planting vegetables is to be sexually abused or watch animal sacrifices or drink blood, or they force you to sexually abuse another child or perform sexual acts with another child. And so nobody wants to be involved sexually with another child or watching animals die or drinking blood, but you don't want to be stuck outside either, because then you're not going to be able to sleep, and when you don't sleep you feel crazy and then bad stuff happens. Or they pull other people into it, and they pull other people into it, and they say, well, if you don't do this, then your little sister it's gonna be either you or your little sister. Who's it gonna be? And you're like, take me, right? Hunger Games. I volunteer as tribute, right? So, I mean, it's all very covert. They make you choose between bad and bad, and no one should ever have to choose that. It's unkind and inhumane treatment that no one should have to endure. But sadly, all of us here on this YouTube channel have survived it. Some sort of abuse. Maybe you weren't forced to, pull weeds or rake leaves or plant vegetables. Otherwise, you were forced to have sex with kids or watch animals die or drink blood. But abuse is abuse is abuse is abuse. Back to the screen share, right? It doesn't matter if it happened once. Abuse is abuse is abuse. It is abuse. We have to agree that it's abuse. We have to agree that it's abuse. And then once we do, we can begin to heal. So I hope that was helpful. And I just want you to know, Deborah, that you're not alone. If you have endured cult abuse or ritual abuse, there are many survivors here on this channel who either anonymously or publicly have shared part of their story of being involved in cult abuse or ritual abuse or religious abuse. And so you're definitely not alone. And I want all of you here to know that you guys are not alone. This entire channel and the thousands of people that subscribe and the thousands that don't subscribe but just come and watch, but they don't want to subscribe because they don't want to use whatever account they're using that somebody else is, and they're not allowed to subscribe. Like, you guys, you're not alone. I just want you to know you're not alone and that you will heal. It's just, you just have to make that choice. We have to every day choose over and over and over again, moment by moment by moment sometimes, that we're going to heal because we deserve it, because we are worth it. Okay? Kira says, this is the last question, guys. Kira says, is it overt abuse when the abuser doesn't even admit it to themselves? There was never a time when he seemed to fully realize what he was doing to me. Okay. Okay. I'm going to look at you guys and I'm going to answer this because this is a big one that happens a lot. Okay. How do I want to answer this, Kira? How do I say this? Sorry, guys, I just needed to get a drink of water. A lot of abusers, Kira, and all of you guys, they live in a beautiful place called denial. They don't enter fully into reality because they have figured out that if they just keep avoiding the reality or the truth, that they don't have to feel anything. And they don't have to be held accountable. They don't have to accept responsibility for what someone else has experienced. So the wording of your question is so perfect because I don't know anyone here on this channel whose abuser came out and admitted or said or acknowledged, I've been really abusive. I know what I've done to you is wrong. And I'm sorry. And you didn't deserve that. So just to be really clear, Kira, it's not overt abuse unless you can point at it and you can prove it. And unless you've been given the opportunity to point at it and prove it, then it doesn't sound like you were able to point at it and prove it. You know? I would say a lot of abusers, they perpetuate what they know. It's not the case with everybody, but a lot of abusers they're acting out what it was acted out unto them, like they were abused, and so they're abusing somebody else because it's what they know. It's not the same thing as hurt people hurt people. Hurt people means that someone who's walking around with a gaping wound is likely not going to be really super nice and kind and sweet. Like, for instance, if I stub my toe and my husband walks through the door and says, "Hi, honey, how are you doing?" I'm likely not going to go, "I'm doing really good. How are you doing?" Like, I'd probably go, "Fine," because I just stubbed my toe. So that's hurt people hurt people. It's not people who are abused become abusers. Different, totally different. But the way you worded your question, Kira, is so perfect, and that is it overt abuse, even if they haven't admitted it to themselves? And I would say that it can be both. It can be overt or covert, but it sounds to me like if you can't really prove it, then it's more covert, but it could be overt. I mean, overt abuse is usually public and it's overtly abusive behavior, and you're able to go, "You did this to me. Do you not see what you just did to me?" You know, and there's usually some covert abuse or some manipulative tactics or some mind games that go along with it. So I hope that was helpful. It's hard to say because I wasn't there, Kira, if it was overt or covert. But if you can't really prove it and it wasn't out in the open in front of other people, then I would say that it was probably covert. But you guys, this has been a really hard topic. I really hope you guys are going to be kind to yourselves. I want to go back up to the very, very, very first question, which was, There it is. Sorry, it took me a while, you guys. So the very first question tonight was Heroes Don't Wear Capes. And Heroes Don't Wear Capes asks, is enabling covert abuse? And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Right? We're wondering, someone who's enabling my abuse, they didn't do anything about it. They didn't stop it. But is that abuse? Because they allowed it to happen? It's like being an accessory to the crime, like an accessory to murder. Like knowing the truth about something, but omitting, like omitting the facts, like not speaking up even though you know the truth. Like, does that make you just as guilty as the person who perpetrated the crime? So there are a lot of gray areas when it comes to that, and that's because some people who are enablers really are ignorant. And I don't mean ignorant as like a derogatory term, like you're just stupid. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that some enablers are naive, right? Some enablers are naive and they see the best in people and they don't realize they're being played for a fool. They don't realize they're being used as a pawn. They really are naive. And the only person that really knows that is the person, right? And then after a while, you can sort of pick up on it. I mean, that's just for you to decide. But I have a really good example of this, and then I'll close out tonight's topic, okay? I think a lot of you are wondering, like last week we talked about enabling, like benevolent neglect as a form of enabling, right? And a lot of you are wondering, Athena, I noticed a lot of what you discussed tonight was sort of a repeat of last week. So are you saying without saying that benevolent neglect is a form of covert abuse? Is that what you're saying? And I'm not saying yes or no. I'm saying that you are the only one that's going to know that, and maybe your enabler is the only one that's going to know that. And I'll give you a good example of this as someone who really is naive versus someone who's calculating and covert and manipulating on purpose, and they're very sinister and sadistic and really abusive and destructive. So I was very, 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 very little when my abuse started, probably close to birth, honestly. I was told some stories about just being left alone and falling out of my car seat and my tooth going through my lip, and that's why I have a scar. And I was told all these stories about going to like one of my grandparents' house, and she didn't like girls. She only liked the boys in the family. And so anytime a girl would come around, she would harm the girl on purpose, no matter how old they were. So she poured hot coffee all over me as a baby. Like, who does that, right? Someone who's obviously disturbed. So I was very, very, very young when my abuse started. So I don't have a frame of reference as to what a life without abuse looks like, other than my life now, because my life now doesn't have abuse in it, which feels pretty awesome. But I was being used as a pawn from a very young age. I was enabling abuse without even knowing I was enabling abuse from a very young age. I was told by one of my family members that I had beautiful rose-colored glasses and that I should never take them off because they look beautiful on me. When you look at the depth of that comment, that quote-unquote compliment, and you look at what that compliment implies, and the person in my family who pretended to be my protector and the one who loved me and wanted what was best for me, saying that to me, and then knowing that that person that said that to me, made that comment to me, or gave me that compliment, that my rose-colored glasses looked so beautiful on me and that I should never take them off. Knowing that the person that said that to me was not only someone who perpetuated abuse in my home, facilitated and enabled abuse in my home, but was abusive also and took part in trafficking me. That type of compliment was the only form of love I received at a very young age. And so me being very Pollyanna and seeing the world through rose-colored glasses, and if you don't know what Pollyanna is and you don't know what rose-colored glasses are, please Google those terms. You might find something that comes up under like an Urban Dictionary, and that will tell you kind of like, it's like a slang, right? So just look that up if you're unsure of what that means. But since the only form of love or approval I received at a very young age was from this particular person, when they paid me a compliment about me having rose-colored glasses and being very naive, that was the highest compliment. It was like the purest form of love I had ever received. And so what do you think I did? I just kept my rose-colored glasses on because they looked so beautiful on me. And I saw the world beautiful, like through soft focus lenses. And I only saw the good in people. And I believed the good in people. And even if the evidence before me was contrary to what I wanted to believe, I knew that my rose-colored glasses looked beautiful on me and that it was one of my most favorable characteristics. It was to be worn as a crown, to be naive and to see the world as beautiful and always the glass is half full and people deep down really are good. What I didn't know is that this particular family member was grooming me and perpetuating my abuse and making sure that I stayed stuck for the better part of my adulthood until I was well into my 20s and into my early 30s. So people looking the other way and enabling abuse, sadly, they could have been groomed and complimented from a very, very, very young age. I mean, I want to tell you I was probably 5 or 6 when I was told this. And it was the only compliment and the only form of love or approval or affection that I ever got. And so staying naive and looking the other way and always seeing the good in people and always believing the good in people was something that I was heavily vested in. Did I know that me being that way was perpetuating abuse in my home and that I was looking the other way and allowing people to be abused? Did I know that that was bad? No, it was a crown to be worn with pride that I saw only the good in people and that I looked the other way and that I didn't return evil for evil. And if someone was mean to me, I was kind to them. And if someone was harsh with me, I would be calm and respectful to them. And if someone was loud to me, I would be soft. And if someone was evil to me, I would be good. And it was my best quality. It was something that I prided myself in. And where the difficult part of this comes in is that there are pieces of that philosophy that are things that still line up with who I am today. And there are pieces of that very warped philosophy that was taught to a very young little girl who was starving for love and approval and acceptance. There are pieces of that philosophy that I still hold dear. But do I blindly turn an eye and allow people to be abused when they're around me? Do I allow anyone to abuse me? Do I allow anyone that I know or am in contact with to be mistreated in any way, shape, or form? Hell to the no. Because that person in my family who gave me that compliment, who groomed me from birth, they're dead now. and they no longer hold power over me. And I am no longer starving for approval and love and affection. And me seeing the good in what is obviously evil is no longer something that I do to earn people's approval. And it is no longer the only source of love or acceptance or good that I'm in contact with on a daily basis. So, to answer the question from the very beginning of the broadcast, is enabling a form of covert abuse? I want to say it can be, but I also want to say that it might not be, because I was groomed from a very, very, very young age and taught and trained expertly to behave a certain way and think a certain way and want certain things and do certain things and act a certain way and only see certain things. And the reward system attached to that was very, very, very real. So take all of this for what it's worth and just know that you're going to heal. You're going to heal because you're worth it. And you don't have to do it alone. And we're all in this together. And you don't have to accept abuse in your life anymore. You can stand up for yourself. It might feel really uncomfortable and awkward for a while, but I know you can do it. So I just went over time. So I'm going to let you guys go. But I love you guys. Each and every one of you are so, 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 so dear to me. And I'm so grateful for all of you. I responded to a whole bunch of YouTube comments today, like all in a row. So if you guys got spammed by me today, it wasn't spam. It was like me finally getting around to answering questions. So I'm hoping that you guys know just how amazing you are and how strong you are and how resilient you are and how capable you are, because you really are. So I guess I'll end with that. Next Monday, oh my gosh, I don't know what next week's topic is. I have a whole bunch of topics written down that I was supposed to cover in June, and they're trailing over into July now. I'll have to let you know. And guess what? That's my best, and my best is good enough. So you guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I didn't lose any of you. There's like 50 of you still here. It's crazy that, I mean, the 50 of you that show up live and then like the hundreds of you that watch replays, it's just mind-boggling to me. These are 90-minute videos. So again, if this video is helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up. If this type of content is something that you need and that you want, leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up. And to all you haters who love to thumbs down, all you little thumbs downers, we love you. You're welcome here. It's fine. But your abuse is not okay, and it will not be welcomed here. So just know that we see it and we recognize it, and we won't tolerate it. So come back next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And thank you. Thank you for your contribution to this community. Each and every one of you guys is amazing. So bye, everybody.